Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry? Yeah. Sorry, my Hebrew's a little rusty this time to Israel. So today, as Young mentioned, I'm going to share with you a presentation we did a little bit earlier at the World Wind Energy Conference in Jerusalem. So there's sort of two parts to this. The first is to give you a very, very quick introduction to the status of China's wind industry. And then the second is to give you a little bit of a taste in as to what the future is going to look like. So this presentation actually doesn't focus on Goldwind at all. It's about the industry as a whole. So following my presentation, Sui Xiaowen is going to talk a little bit about Goldwind. So let's begin. So as I said, two parts. So this is a slide that shows China's total electricity generation capacity. We don't have a laser, huh? Yeah, one more. Sure. But basically you can see from this that around 2005, fossil fuels really took off. And it wasn't until about 2007, thank you. Great. Okay, great. So about 2005, you can see fossil fuels skyrocket. And it's not until about 2007 that we see wind beginning to take off. So to put that into global perspective, it was about 2005 that we can see wind starting to make an impact in the energy mix worldwide. So a more detailed look, but just to show that as of 2014, China has the largest base of installed wind capacity and a 31% global share. So this I wanted to share with you because I'm located in Beijing. I've been there for about 2 years. And I think these are the images people are pretty familiar with when they think of Beijing. So last year, we in Beijing hosted the APEC conference. So for 2014, all of the world leaders from APEC came to visit. And something dramatic happened. We had this from this. So about half the days are polluted in Beijing. But during this week period, and 1 week before, they began limiting cars on the road. They began shutting down factories. And the result was pretty astounding, blue skies. So a term was coined during the period called APEC Blue. So I'm not sure if any of you have heard of this, but this was a thing that was all over Chinese social media. And actually, it again happened this year. It was the anniversary of the anti-fascist war. I think it was the 70th anniversary. So it was a huge military parade in Beijing. And the same thing happened. We went from this to this. And so what has this done? It's really provoked people's consciousness about the importance of renewable energy in China. And now they know that if we are able to clean up the energy mix, if we're able to become more efficient, that we can go from that to that. So again, just a quick look at the difference here. Coal-fired power versus wind power. So, I mean, that's a coal-fired power plant could be anywhere in China. They're all over. And wind farms are primarily located in the north, but that's essentially what they look like. For those of you who haven't seen any, I know there aren't too many in Israel at this point. But.
There are a couple in the north.
Yeah, quite small. One just came online, I heard last week too. So, it's good things. So to give you an idea, again, of China versus the world, we can see that red, of course, is China, and blue is the rest of the world. We can see that, again, it will be around 2007, we see wind beginning to take off, but it's made up a huge proportion of the world's new installations of wind power capacity. And you can see, according to this is the cumulative installations of wind can see that China's also got an increasing market share in that. So incredibly important country when it comes to wind power. And so some of you might want to know why it is that this time that it begins to take off, because we've had installations going into Europe since the 90s. But in 2004, China introduced its renewable energy law. So setting targets for renewable energy. And so it took a little bit of time, but from then, we see that wind begins to increase in the mix. So where are we today? This is a slide that shows where we are at H1 this year. So already we're at a 41% increase of installations.
This year?
This year alone.
21%.
Yeah. So again, just to show that we are having a fantastic year in China with new installations. But this slide down here shows a little bit of a different picture. So we can see this is wind's penetration into the energy mix. We're only at 3.7. So with all of this installations, we're still only at 3.7. So it shows there's a lot of work left to do. And just to put that in perspective, Denmark's wind penetration is 39%, Portugal's 24%, and Spain is 21%. So China still has a lot of work to do, but things are looking good. So again, to give you an idea of where these wind farms, that beautiful picture I showed you a minute ago, are located. So China's best wind resources are located up here in the north, northwest, and northeast up here. So this is Inner Mongolia. Mongolia would be here. And so actually Goldwind was founded in this region here, in Xinjiang province. So what this slide also shows, these lines here, are China's attempt to integrate wind into the grid. As I mentioned, 33.7%. That's not a lot, especially considering China's 114 gigawatts of installed capacity. So what they're doing to try and increase that is install these kinds of transmission lines here. And why do they go here? Can anyone answer that for me? It's because that's the economic engine of China and also the bulk of the population's here. So we need to get power from up here in these sort of sparsely populated regions with all of the wind energy resources and shuttle them down here into the areas that need it the most. So wind does more than clean up the pollution which we have down here. It's also important for knowledge and skills building. It provides other benefits, including sustainable education, and overall just high-tech innovation, which we'll get to in a little bit. So there's three sort of lessons that China's learned so far, and I'm going to talk about these a little bit more in the following section. But sort of three principles that we can take out of China's experience thus far. The first is commitment. So the importance of commitment to these renewable energy goals. So as I mentioned, the 2004 renewable energy law really kick-started the industry in China. So subsequently, we've had each 5-year plan an increase of renewable energy targets, and also a feed-in tariff that supports the realization of those targets. So that's absolutely central to China's renewable energy and wind power story. The second is collaboration. As I mentioned, China is the largest market for wind power in the world, but it didn't do it by itself. There's a host of international companies that are working in China. Our wind turbines are a product of many, many, many international companies, components, know-how. We use third-party engineering centers to consult. Absolutely every possible area we've had international collaboration. And it's not just us, every single Chinese company is the same. Every international company, Siemens, Vestas, they're all the same. We all rely heavily on this kind of collaboration. And thirdly is innovation, of course. So China's got some unique aspects to its wind resources and extremely low temperatures, very high altitude. So we need to adapt to that. So innovation is, of course, the third principle, the third lesson sort of we've learned from China's growth thus far. But there's still challenges. As I mentioned, grid integration. So we have the load centers up north. So huge curtailment, a huge amount of that wind that we could be generating doesn't make it to the grid. The second is wind tariff reduction. So you've seen that it's a 41% increase this year. Well, actually, that's because next year there's going to be a slight reduction in the tariff. So there's been a huge surge to get projects online this year. And the third is wind turbine quality, which when we had that swell in 2005, 2006, 2007, a number of companies emerged to sort of meet that demand. And what happened is a lot of low-quality turbines were installed. So China's continuously improving its performance in these aspects of quality. So that's sort of the present. So now we're going to just, don't have too much time because I have some colleagues that are going to give you more information after this, but just a quick taste of the future here. So again, these three key learnings, collaboration, commitment, and innovation, these are sort of the three principles that are going to resonate over the next 5-10 years in China's wind industry. So the first sort of principle, innovation. So what is that going to look like in China? So this here is just a quick overview of the value chain. So we have advanced materials, so composites, carbon, all kinds of things. Wind turbines and component design, advanced manufacturing, wind farm development, turbine operations, O&M strategy. So all of these kinds of things are going to be penetrated by this Made in China 2025 strategy, which is sort of China's adaptation of Germany's Industry 4.0. I'm sure if you're familiar with that. But it's a new sort of industrial strategy with more automated, more machine learning, all these kinds of things. And the second, of course, this ties deeply into the Internet of Things, which is the same idea. So the next point that we're going to mention here is the energy internet. So they're talking about this all over China right now. There's a huge surge to integrate these renewable energies, but also move into other kinds, so distributed solar, biomass, hydro, and integrating these into a smarter system, which can more flexibly manage the kinds of loads and the kinds of production that we get from wind energy and solar, which, wind, you don't always know when it's going to blow, but you need to be able to integrate it into the system, or it's completely wasted. So this is going to work its way all the way through down to the consumer and also to the factory. So, and of course, wind turbines. We need to work on our wind turbines. So smarter wind turbines, smarter data analytics, and smarter grids, which we've already mentioned. So again, a few other areas we're working on are concrete towers, so building up gives you access, it unlocks all kinds of new wind resources, but it also brings all kinds of challenges. So we've got hybrid towers to sort of manage that. Also, we have LiDAR wind assessment. So that enables you to better predict how your wind will react to each turbine you put in a line. So if you think about it, there's, of course, a flow to the wind, and if you put an object in front of it, it's going to change that flow. So LiDAR gives us a better idea of where these resources are and how we can actually place our turbines to make best use of these resources. Third, wind energy to hydrogen, another idea for storage, and smart microgrids, which we mentioned. So this is just a quick example of smart microgrid that we've got in China, actually at one of Goldwind's factories. So to give you an idea, it's a 2 megawatt turbine, you can see it right there, with nearly 200 kilowatts of PV and lead carbon storage batteries. We built our own control system to manage these loads, and the result is here. So you can see we've cut the cost of energy actually nearly in half by utilizing this system. So huge economic benefits to doing that, of course.
This is clean and cheap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any use of urban wind turbine?
Urban wind turbines? Well, actually, this is in a...
Yes, it's not
but
is there any use of in China in general?
Of
urban?
Urban.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is urban. This is in a factory area. This is right in the middle of town, essentially.
When you compare, when it's conventional electricity manufacturing, are you referring to coal manufacturing or natural gas or any other means?
This is just the cost of energy from actually just buying it right out of the grid. So just fed into your factory. That's the cost, and that's what we offset with this microgrid here. Okay, so the next point, we talked about innovation, now our commitment. So there's sort of three areas. Well, I'll try and go through this a bit more quickly, but political commitment. So that, like the renewable energy laws, the 5-year plans, these kinds of things. Economic commitment, you know, I mentioned the tariff reduction. So how is the wind industry going to react to that? We're going to improve the technology, of course. We need to drive down the cost of energy. We need to improve the output of these wind turbines. And social commitment, of course, there's a huge importance to reducing this pollution and reducing it as quickly as possible. So we as an industry need to move forward in step with that. So to give you an idea of what the commitment's going to look like, this was the last 5-year plan, which set a target of 105.5. So we've already gone over that. And so the next 5-year plan, which will come out in 2016, we're looking at a new target between 250 and 280 gigawatts of installed wind capacity.
That would be from 3.4% to how much? So
penetration is another issue. So the quicker we get those transmission lines in, the more of an impact that we have. Those lines right now would improve that, like a number of percentage points. But yeah, that's just installed capacity. So just to give you an idea of what that forecast looks like compared to the rest of the world, so we're looking at around somewhere between 20 gigawatts and 30 gigawatts a year. So this is China down here, of course. This is the rest of the world. So you can see that again, China's got a remarkably large footprint when it comes to wind energy. Also, China wants to assist the developing world with developing renewable energy. I mean, China's had that experience of incredible pollution, and so we're hoping is to be able to assist developing countries to actually sort of maybe leapfrog that stage. And so you can see that the forecasts for Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa. So obviously we'd like to be able to make greater contribution to these kinds of regions. Same idea, just one more specific breakdown. And so just another couple of examples. We talked about this energy law. If any of you can read Chinese, I promise you that's what it says. And we have this other signal here, which I'm sure everyone heard about, the China-US Clean Energy Cooperation signed in 2015 this year. So this sends a great signal to the market, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Obviously the power sector is absolutely crucial to that. So it means a greater opportunity for wind energy in the future. And yet another example is the G7 agreement that we just heard in June, the Think Ahead, Act Together campaign, which is aiming to decarbonize by 40 to 70% by 2050. So all of these kinds of things show the kind of commitment that we're looking to see, and that it will drive wind forward over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So the third point is collaboration. So what does collaboration mean? What does that look like for the future? So we sort of broke it down into three areas. Communities. So we want to have an impact on local communities. Reducing pollution is one way, but offering jobs, offering opportunities is another. Collaboration between countries. So of course we're here right now trying to share exactly what it is we're working on, and try to bring some of those benefits to Israel. And companies, of course. As I mentioned, there's a huge amount of collaboration. And just to give you an idea, this is a turbine manufacturer, and these are all international companies that have components in this particular turbine manufacturer's supply chain. These are sort of 4 different organizations that have contributed to the development of these turbines, certifications, consulting work. And these are just a quick look at some of the financing and insurance bodies that also contribute to the development of these projects. So obviously international collaboration among companies is huge. So among countries, we have the One Belt, One Road initiative, which I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with, hopefully you are. But the aim of that is to help develop infrastructure projects in all of these regions here. So they're calling it sort of the new Silk Road, and there's also the new Maritime Silk Road. So most of this is infrastructure focused, and we think it should be renewable energy. And there's been a lot of funds set aside specifically to develop wind power, solar power, all of these kinds of things. So in the future, we're expecting to see much more of that. And just another example of collaboration. So this is Goldwind's footprint worldwide. So we got turbines in the US. Of course, China is our home market, but Pakistan, Thailand, Australia, Ethiopia, Panama, Cuba, the list goes on. So more than 15 countries with 1.5 gigawatts of turbines installed or under construction. So collaboration. So this is giving a taste of sort of what we do with communities. So this is just an example of Goldwind's Australia Open Day. So we try to engage the local communities. Actually, a local community buy-in is essential for developing any wind project. You know, I'm sure you're all familiar with the NIMBY campaign type stuff. So the earlier you can get buy-in, the better. So this is one example of how you do that. How you get people involved and excited about renewable energy. And this is a similar thing that we did in Pakistan. So we also have outreach programs to schools, and actually we've built some schools as well in Latin America. Okay, so these are just some pictures of some of our projects around the world. Ethiopia, Pakistan, Thailand, Romania. So what's the conclusion from all of this? Well, you can see it in bold down here, let's work together for a sustainable future. But really we think that these three principles are going to be the driving force for wind further expansion over the near and long-term future. So with that, I will leave it to my next, I have a few questions. Sure.
Could you talk a little bit about the economics of wind energy compared to other renewable energy?
I am a wind analyst, so actually solar is not my forte. But compared to tidal, it's a non-starter. It really depends where you have your solar resources, but I think wind is in many markets the most cost-effective form of renewable energy. I mean, some it's even cheaper than coal, cheaper than gas. It really depends on the market you're looking at. But
there are some problems with wind energy. One is that the effectiveness. It's less than 13% of the effectiveness. One of the things that at the moment is showing the electricity to the grid, that if it will be too much wind turbine of the grid, at the times that the wind is blowing at night, the grid won't be able to take it. So there is a lot of waste anywhere. There is a lot of waste in China, especially of wind. So I want to know where in Goldwind, I've seen, but there is no energy storage in your collaboration. That's something that basically wind can't be more than a certain percent of the energy production without energy storage. It won't be sustainable.
Sorry, can you tell me what you mean by 13%?
Effectiveness, it's the mean that the effort, that the electricity that can be used to the electricity that basically consumed.
Yeah, the capacity factor, ordinarily it's much higher than 13%. It's around 20, some are as high, offshore wind farms are about 50%. So that first of all is not quite right. Second of all, I showed you the slides from Denmark, from Germany. Actually, most of that they don't have storage. We had a great set of slides this morning talking about the different ways you can integrate wind without storage. You can wind to heat, wind to hydrogen's another option. I guess that's would technically use storage. But I think most markets, if you look at Europe, I mean, storage hasn't really hit Europe yet, and they're integrating much more than 7% into the grid directly.
Any renewables? Renewables today in Germany is going around 20-something%,
right.
33%.
Right.
There is a limit at the bottom. You know, basically what compensates later on is the gas or a coal or any other energy production. And if it goes above the fluctuation, the grid can't hold it. That's why you need to store energy.
Right, but what I'm telling you is Denmark's 39%, and they don't have a huge storage system in place. So it's possible. Yeah, well, so you can put in, there's all sorts of ways to do that. Of course, if your production is higher than the load, you need to transfer that. So the way Europe's managed that is through interconnectors. So wind's not blowing everywhere all the time. So if you have transmission lines in place, you can shuttle that load to the center that actually needs it. So there are ways of managing that without storage. But yeah, I mean, storage is going to grow in the future. So and actually, we are doing research with storage. So I showed you the microgrid project, but we're doing Vanox storage, lithium-ion storage, and lead carbon as well. We're working with all those kinds of things to try to minimize waste. It's really important. Absolutely. Yes.
You mentioned the government commitment and stuff like that. I just wonder. The 2004 renewable energy law, what exactly does it state that China is preparing to do or going to do? Because it doesn't seem like still that the wind or renewable energy is making a huge impact still in China because of all, population, I guess.
Yeah. So the renewable energy law was the first piece of legislation that sort of set out the importance of the strategic importance of renewable energy in China. The subsequent 5-year plans were the ones that set the targets with that. There's another body that sets the tariffs. But perhaps we can have someone else give you a little bit more information about that. Are we out of time? Okay. Sorry. We can chat later. I can leave my business card here if anyone else would like to ask some questions. Okay. Sure. Okay.
Sorry,
thank you.
English is not good enough, but I try to answer your question. So far, the global renewable energy workers, we are trying to touch the goal that is 2050. We try to 100% to use the renewable energy. It looks unbelievable, but U.S. already published the roadmap of 2050. U.S. will be 80%. All the consumption will come from renewable energy. And Europe Union, they also have a same as a roadmap. So far in Denmark, they are already 40% energy come from renewable energy. So their intention is for gas station, they should do adjustment to support the renewable energy. And the next step will be some smart grid and smart wind turbine and smarter consumer. Most of consumer in the future will with all the sensors, so they can know, they can feel when is the renewable energy can be produce energy, and they will with a little bit storage. You are right. In the future, the storage equipment will be very popular to work together with the consumer. So if the renewable energy is rich, then they will storage. And when the sunshine is shut down and the wind turbines stop, they will use storage. And also the hydropower station will join this adjustment. But the general idea is we will try to, as more as possible, to use the renewable energy. Why? Because no pollution, is clean energy. And also the traditional oil, traditional energy resources is limited. That's a basic situation. Okay?
Maybe instead of investing in your lecture, how much of the wind turbine are offshore and how much onshore?
For offshore, from Goldwind, we are just start. We are already installed a 100 megawatt wind turbine for offshore. And now is, I remember, 50 megawatt wind turbine is just under construction. We are just through the erection. But still, we are working for the onshore, and also we are focused to low wind speed because they are huge market and less risk. So for the offshore, we will very much take care because it's too expensive. So the consumer will share too much extra expense. That's a problem. So we need a step by step. So then we are always considering how to reduce the renewable energy cost. That is the next 5 years goal what we are working for. So one hand is try to reduce maybe in next 5 years 20% cost of wind turbine and as well as engineering. And other hand, we try to increase another 20% performance, the produce capability. So then, even we have no subsidy, the cost of renewable energy almost close or equal the traditional energy cost, like coal energy or fuels energy. So that is the next 5 years what our goal. But on the other hand, we are trying to evaluate what is the really renewable energy contribution, because we are reduce the pollution. We are not really evaluated with the economy price figures to show to the people. So now we are a lot of consulting people. They already find the technical and the economy method to evaluate. If we find renewable energy, we use renewable energy to instead the traditional energy, and we use renewable energy to reduce the pollution. How does it cost with each kW hour? The general figure we already get from the traditional oil for coal energy produce exactly the price of the cost level will double than now, because you should be considering some pollution, how to deal with the pollution, and how about the people health and PM 2.5 and all these issues.
Excuse me, do you think the manufacturing of the wind turbines in China will do the same effect like on the solar industry, like with the panels price reduced and everything?
Yes, as I mentioned before, we will go two ways. One way is try to reduce the cost of manufacturing wind turbine. Other way is we increase the performance. That means we try to drop down each kW hour cost. This is our target.
Well, since the wind turbines are supposed to be working for the next couple of decades, and most probably the environment will get more harsh and difficult to deal with, do you make any preparation towards the global climate change? And efficiency-wise, and they might suffer difficult weather and could be demolished and stuff like that. So, do you make any preparation?
you base your distribution of wind turbines on the present climate and wind patterns, but in the future climate this may be different. How do you plan for that? You may have more severe weather, more lightning, which is a big problem for turbines.
未来的这个环境在变化，气候在变化，如果未来这个气候变化的更加极端，这个附近是否？
So generally, we are already understand what is the climate situation and what is the extremely wind speed and also the air density. And I think so far all this data is rich enough. Of course, in the future, we are already findings of the data what today we have and to focus to the future. And also for wind turbine now, we are put a lot of sensor and also meteorological station. So we collect all the data, not from one point. Globally, we have a unit. So each landscape, we have the meteorological station. We are share the data and we are research this data. I think this would be no problem for that.
There is a Spanish company who called Vortex, who invented a new method. Should be like a straw shape, the turbine, like a straw shape. And it should be more efficient, more economic, and it should be not hit the birds. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you plan to use new methods like this, or you invent something like this?
Yeah, we are already have an R&D group to develop some small piece on the blades. So, as you know, the blades it is made by the moons, but they are used in different environments. They have a more different situation. So, how to let the fix the blade profile to fix the different situation? Then that is one of the ways we can put some piece and to suit for the different climate condition or environment requirements. It is.我以为是放那个叶片上放一个东西啊。The vertical vertical type of wind turbine is already be proved is not easier. So far, it's no result. So it's already, I think, 25 years. They try and try again, because you can imagine that the banking force is very strong. If you put the generator in there, they have a small gap, so it's very easy to broken. The structure design, they are not very sensitive now.
Actually, just add a little bit on that. So sometimes the efficiency of the power transmission transformation is more efficient. However, you cannot build a large vertical. For example, iso turbine, you can build like 1 megawatt, 10 megawatts, you can build a huge. But this one, I think that the largest one, I'm not sure about the vortex, I think it's below 100 kilowatts. It's really small now. You can put it on the rooftop or something like that. But smaller. Interesting.
Just sorry, because our time is just